Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rome. My name is Gianluca Cantoro. I'm the hoster here. Actually, I'm also a guest in this building because actually the last years we have seen a lot of dropping in the number of people employed in the photographic archive. So we made an agreement between my institution, which is the CNR, the National Research Council, and I got the scientific direction of the photographic archive, so that's why we tried also to organize this kind of event today. Thanks to the collaboration with Fabio Remondino from FBK, we tried to share experience and to share knowledge about archives, and also maybe to make a kind of networking. So the director of my institution was supposed to be here, but her train is a bit late, so she cannot manage to be. Maybe later she will join for some greetings. The same applies for the director of the institute, Carlo Birrozzi, which is not here at the moment. Maybe he will join us at the first coffee break. So I've seen the program. It's a very intense program. There are speeches from all over Europe, but also outside Europe, which makes us very happy. Just some housekeeping. This room is devoted to the demo, so you will find to the left two demos, which we will see during the coffee breaks, and to the right we have the coffee breaks. So we have the catering lady to the right. The same you will find this way or that way. Basically we have toilets at my back, so either you go one side or the other, you will reach the same place. And you can find toilet there. Besides this, we have also the possibility to organize small groups, about 15 people maybe, for the visit to the archives if you are interested. And we have also a historical photographic collection of cameras, which is a very nice one. So it's not only cameras from the airplane, or mostly are not cameras from airplanes, but they are historical cameras. So if you like, we can split in groups, and during each break we can organize the visit. That's all from my side. I leave the floor to Fabio.
Thank you, Gianluca. So welcome also from my side. I'm here with two hats, let's say. So the organization where I work, which is the Bruno Kessler Foundation, which is a public research center in Trento, so far away from here, and EuroSDR, which is, let's say, the main driver of this workshop and activity. So for some of you, quickly, what is EuroSDR? It's a quite old organization which was founded in 1953 with another name. At that time it was called OIIPE, which is very complex to mention, so I just say OIIPE. And then it was renamed towards the end or the beginning of 2000 in EuroSDR, which is European Spatial Data Research. And basically what is EuroSDR doing? EuroSDR is putting together two main pillars, the national mapping and cartographic agencies of every European state, and research organization, mainly universities from every European country. And these two, let's say, pillars, these two members are meeting twice a year, and they are discussing basically problems of national mapping agencies. And universities are trying to solve these problems. And how they are trying to solve these problems? Through research and investigation. Okay? So that's why in these meetings, the mapping agency comes, they expose their problems, their open issues, and the research community start to think how to solve these and how to bring solutions. So in this way, there is a kind of a joint collaboration between mapping agencies and research institute, and we try also to provide educational activities and workshops like this one to share knowledge. So in a simple sentence, EuroSDR is trying to keeping NMAs, so National Mapping Organization, updated on technologies, because we know that the mapping people are very busy with many other things, so that's why university is supporting the mapping companies. We have at the moment more or less 20 members. This means 20 countries on board, and of course you know that Europe is growing in a political way, so more countries are slowly joining. So how are the research activities performed? They are performed under the, let's say, management of 5 technical commissions. And here you see what are these commissions about. The first is about data acquisition, so the primary source of information. And this is led at the moment by John Milson in Newcastle. Then we have data processing, modeling, and integration, which is the second commission. It's led by Norbert Alla. Then we have information usage and visualization, Martin Riesdick from the Dutch cadastre. Business model and operation, led by Frédéric Cantan from IGN France. And last, we have the fifth commission, which is related to education or knowledge transfer, which is led by Ansa Lijek in the Ljubljana University. So what are these commissions doing? They are getting, let's say, information, they are getting needs from the mapping agencies, and they try to organize research activities, but also events, as I say, like this one. And then twice a year, we report the information to the delegates, so to the mapping companies. So how does a normal research activity works? So normally every project is between 1 and 3 years. This is the average span in order to perform the research tasks. What we try to tackle are really real-world problems which are offered by the mapping agencies, and we try to collaborate in order to exchange knowledge, to get more needs, and finally we always try to come up either with a workshop or with a publication. Here you see a list of some, because there are many more, some of the recent research projects. So of course machine learning, we cannot forget about artificial intelligence. Then we had a project about UAVs, so the drones, and their potential for mapping agencies, so for application almost at national scale. We have an ongoing activities related to high-resolution satellite imagery, because as you know, high-resolution satellite imagery are growing, they are more available, so the task is to understand if they are also useful for mapping at national scale. And then we have these activities on historical aerial images, and that's why we are here. We have been working a lot on oblique imagery, again for the purpose of providing new solution to mapping people. GeoBeam, single photon LiDAR, which is the new technique, let's say, which is growing beside the traditional linear mode LiDAR. And then, I mean, you can read many more activities. And then, as I said, an important pillar is education, because we want to transfer what we have learned to not only to the mapping people, but also to the entire mapping community. So we have basically 2 big educational pillars. The first is what we call educational service, or EduServe, and every year, since nowadays, as you can see, 20 years, we organize a series of training courses online on specific topics. And normally 4 topics are offered, and the people can register. There is a 1-day meeting where there is a kind of introduction, and then there are 2 intense weeks of learning, of training on specific topics. So you see, for example, the past topic were related to point cloud classification. This is, of course, super hot at the moment. Oblique imagery, land use, land cover, satellite imagery, standards, forestry mapping, open spatial data infrastructure, and so on. So every year, also in 2023, there will be one of these EduServe courses. And the second one, of course, is on demand. So, for example, there is a mapping company or a mapping agency who is in need, for example, a specific course on photogrammetry, because they want, to refresh a bit the mind of their employees. So EuroSDR is in agreement with the mapping agencies, and the researcher people are going to the mapping agency. They do maybe a 1, 2, 3 days full immersion course, and in this way they offer these on-demand courses. And then last but not least, we produce publications. In this way, everything is written, let's say, on paper, on stone. We have more than 70 books which were published since more than 30 years. And then the good thing is that the books are freely available for everyone, and for those who are writing these books, they are also in Scopus, so they are under some indexes. We have a quite good network of, let's call it sister societies, or societies who are collaborating with EuroSDR, and you see they're, of course, all in the mapping sector. They go from ISPRS, which is the one, let's say, where the collaboration is more active, but also EuroGeographic, which is very similar to EuroSDR, but a little bit more on a political level, OGC, the international standards, and so on. And then since 3-4 years, we have also some associate members, which are basically the companies, because we thought that a company should be in the loop. Of course, a company should be informed and should be engaged in our activities, and so for the time being, these are the companies which are also participating in the meetings, which are also bringing their expertise, and which are also offering their solution to the mapping agencies. Okay, so we thought that we described before the research activities. Among the most, let's say, recent research activities, we have these on historical aerial images. That's why we are here. And actually, these activities started, as you can see, in 2017 under the leadership of two souls. From one side, we had IGN France and Swiss Topo, because at that time the digitization of historical aerial images really started. So at that time there was a questionnaire. Some of you probably participated in this, and IGN started to perform some data processing, which ended up in some papers. And then out of this we got the publication, which is available online, so you can find it there. It was about archiving and geoprocessing of historical aerial images. And then we organized a workshop in Paris. Some of you were there before the pandemic, and the workshop took place at IGN in the Geo Room. We were, as you can see, more than 50 participants, and in 2 days there were discussions, there were presentations, and everybody was presenting its activities, which were, let's say, starting in the field of historical aerial images. Then came the pandemic, so everything was more or less stopped, but already in 2019 we say, okay, these activities should not stop, because historical aerial images are super important. More and more data are available, as you know better than me, and so we say, okay, let's continue. And after the pandemic, slowly we started again, and we created what we call a kind of benchmark or a data set, which is called TIME, which means historical aerial images. So some of you participated in these activities, and now I leave the floor to my colleague Elisa, because she did most of the job, so she will introduce what is the TIME in a nutshell.
So good morning. Just a few words to introduce this work, this collection, and some tests that we did with the collected images. So the TIME benchmark is born as a collaboration of EuroSDR and several national mapping agencies and the university. The main aim also was to explore the contribution that archival images can give to several tasks to understand changes in the landscape and so on. And the main aim was also to stimulate some research activities, and we are starting now to collaborate also with other partners for valorizing these historical sources, and also to have some tests with different procedures for testing so the automation of actual solution for processing historical aerial images, and prepare some best practice and lesson learned. So the main activities started from obviously data collection with 8 contributed countries all around Europe. And our first job was dedicated to data harmonization. As we will briefly see, also some data processing for evaluating the automation of software solution for processing analog images. These are the 8 contributed countries. As you can see, they are spread all around Europe, and we collected about 1,000 archival aerial images with a temporal range of about 50 years, with also some multi-temporal data sets and different time series. These data sets are really heterogeneous in terms of number of images. We have very small data sets and very large data sets. In terms of used cameras and obviously also image format and quality and scale. And also the scan resolution. This is another interesting research topic to understand so the quality of the reconstruction using different scanners for the acquisition. They are also different in terms of other information that are necessary for processing, the digital processing of these sources in terms of ground control points, other information about flights and so on. And also the availability of ground control points for the georeferencing. We have to consider that it's very difficult to find some ground control points that are stable over time and are visible in the actual scenarios and the historical one. So among the research topics, these are some that we explored. We have, of course, the radiometric equalization and image enhancement. Historical sources often suffer of brightness and contrast issues due to the scannerization process. Then the automatic identification and recognition of fiducial marks, because of course we need to go from an analog system to a digital system for processing. Then still the automatic aerial triangulation and georeferencing, as I said, the automatic extraction of DSM and DTM, also some analysis and change detection or land use and land cover mark generation. But also for some data sets, an interesting topic could be the detection of bomb criteria, and also the automatic colorization of grayscale images for other tasks as object recognition and so on. So these are mainly our tests that are collected in a publication. We started from working with the automatic detection of fiducial marks for the interior orientation with the digital processing of analog images. Then we used different new level-based approaches for matching multitemporal images and multitemporal series. We also have some tests for assess the capability of some available structure from motion processes for the automatic orientation of the images. We test different tools also for the DSM production, and we then focused mainly on the colorization task. And these are two recent publications. One is more general about the data sets that you can find. Simply you can write us to have data. Some of you has already requested our data. And the last one is a very recent publication of a new deep learning architecture that we developed for the automatic colorization of the images. And these are some acknowledgement to people that contributed and helped us to collect this data.
Thank you, Ellie. So this was a wrap-up of this time. Maybe benchmark is not the best name, but it's just to give you an idea. Maybe it's better to call it data set. But again, as Elisa said, online in the website you can find all the information. And if you need the data to do some tests, to analyze some of the things, we will super happy to share the data with you. And then this brings to this second workshop. So after Paris, so it took almost 3 years to come to Rome. We know the reason of this break, and we have a quite intense and dense, let's say, program. You have it all, and I would just to underline the two main things that, as Gianluca said, during every break we will have 2 demos offered by 2 companies who were super nicely here. So the first is 3D Alate and the other is Geodyne. So in the room where the coffee break will be, there will be their 2 stands, so you can see some examples and some demos regarding the scanning phase. Okay, so they will show you their instruments. And then, as Gianluca said, during the next break, we can also have small groups, and we can go and visit the archives and the photographic, the camera collections. Okay? So before now going to the technical part, I leave the floor to the real owner here, the boss, the director of the ICCD, which is the institute here for the conservation and documentation of cultural heritage.
It's just to say hello to everybody. Just a few words, because I think that my colleagues will explain what we are doing here in our institute. Gianluca, Gabriella, and Daniela, and maybe the rest they will tell you about our activities. And it's just to say that I'm really glad that you are here, that you are here in Rome and in our institute. We are working a lot for our aerial photographic collection, and even if we are every day less people, we are really a few in this moment. It's not an easy period for us, but we are working hard. And we are working hard for our deposits, for the conditioning of the deposits. You maybe tomorrow or today you will go to visit our deposit, and we are working even for the digitization of our collection, both of aerial photographs and terrestrial photographs. We are going to publish more or less 300,000 of our historical photographs from the collection of the administration of the heritage starting from 1880, and we are going to digitize more or less 400,000 glass negatives, and we are starting in these days. So I think that this is a very good achievement. And then we have very important projects for our aerial archives, which are really important because they started as the balloons started to fly, and maybe the most ancient feature are from the archaeological site in the center of Rome. So they are very, very important documents. But the most important collection starts with the Second World War, and we have two very important collections that we are going to digitize in the next years. So I hope that you will have our collection online as soon as possible. I'd like to compose our website to look for views of all Italy. But it is very important to have you here because we must start even the cultural activities all around the archives. And I think that in this period, even if we have, it is so easy to take pictures and it is so easy to share, documentation is in a period of crisis, because I don't know that if we can improve our archives as we have done during the last century. I don't know if we will be able to leave to our son the same important monuments, archives, as we have from the last century. This is a great problem, and it is a problem for our administration. We are losing a lot of important documents because we are not so able to collect everything this product in one place like this one. So I think this is the real problem for the future. We have solved the problems of digitization and conservation of what we have, but we must improve our collection to the documents in the future. So that's all, and have a good day in Rome, and good work.
So thanks to Architetto Carlo Birrozzi, which is the director of ICCD. It is very important to have him here because it gives you the idea of the effort that they try to put also in the conservation and the promotion of the archive. You have seen already, I forgot to mention my colleagues, Rodolfo Felici, Gabriella Di Polito, and Daniela Palazzi. You have seen them doing all sorts of jobs. As we understand, we try to help as much as possible, so whenever you need help for everything, you can ask to any of us and we will assist you.